Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, do I have some updates for you. But first, I've actually noticed a couple of updates in the client. Patch day was yesterday, so there's been some changes. I've noticed that they added a cosmic archaeology as part of some of the prime initiatives that you kind of want to accomplish. I thought that was really cool. Study 10 terrestrial artifacts, study 10 space artifacts. We'll definitely be doing that as well. We've also gotten a couple of recommendations for what we call this giant monstrosity. I've heard volcanic steam room and the volcanic sauna. I like them. I like them both. I'll probably use them both interchangeably. Who knows? Or I'll forget both of them and start making up new things as well. We've had plenty of changes down here. First is the addition of more rails. And when I say more, I mean more. Yeah, we may have went overboard, but wow, there's now a lot of rails. All the rails are made out of iron ore to make sure that they can hold the heat, keep the heat, and keep pumping that heat through the steam turbines. It's gotten to the point that after a volcanic eruption, the coal generators never really go on because all the steam turbines are providing so much power. More on that later because we want more power. I've also removed some of the temperature shift plates from where the igneous rock lands. And I think we may have finally settled the issue of the occasional conveyor loader melting and the auto sweeper meltings. I still have some more tests to do. Basically, what I think was happening is the igneous rock would land on a temperature shift plate, and it would cause the temperature shift plate to rise so fast, and because the building was connected to temperature shift plate, it would sort of instantly melt and wouldn't let the steam an opportunity to sort of get rid of it. It's still a pretty quick process because as soon as the igneous rock hits, the auto sweeper throws it in the conveyor loader, so it doesn't have a lot of opportunity to heat the immediate area. The idea is to get them onto the rails as soon as possible. We've also have quite a few extra molten slicksters in our starvation farming section. This is not the only bit of petroleum we have. I made a couple of liquid reservoirs for our crude oil and for our petroleum. I know there's a million ways to do this, but it's a good system that works for me. Petroleum gets dumped in by a bottle emptier. You can also just throw it directly into the liquid reservoir. And anytime we need to use it, we can come off with a pipe from the liquid pump. And then I have this little hydrosensor here. Now this hydrosensor is important. You notice this liquid pump is not pumping anything into the liquid reservoir. That's because the hydrosensor is waiting for it to get over 900 kilos in this tile. We only want enough to fill this little area. We don't want it to overflow. So once we get too much petroleum in here, it pumps it into the tank. Additionally, whenever we need it for liquid locks and the such, we have a pitcher pump here. And it's the same process over here with the crude oil. Eventually, we'll probably set up one of these for every sort of liquid available. But for right now, crude oil and petroleum are the ones we need. We've also done a little bit of digging in the background. And by a little, I mean a lot. We kind of dug out the entire area. This is because I've been experimenting with the volcanic sauna, and during that time, I didn't want the dupes just do nothing, so we might as well dig, which is good because we've managed to clean up the place a lot because our frame rates were getting really low. You may remember from the last episode, we had a failed attempt at a major volcano taming. We could have kept at it, adding more steam turbines and trying different things, but I wanted to try this. It's going to be a volcano versus cool salt / geyser fight to the death. Basically what happens is the volcano erupts, comes down through here, and as soon as it hits, it makes it igneous rock. The igneous rock then gets picked up by the auto sweeper and the conveyor loader, and then once again goes through just a couple of rails. All the way up. It ends up getting dropped off right here. By the time it comes out, it is normally no hotter than what the water is. The difficult thing is, this volcano still has another 57 cycles of activity. This cool salt / geyser doesn't start erupting for another 5 cycles. So the water in here has gotten pretty warm. It's at 41 degrees. I'm going to push it to see if this water tank can absorb all the heat from the volcano while it's active, and see if this water tank can cool down naturally during the volcano's dormancy period. We're going to have to see. I don't even know if it's going to make it to then. If it doesn't, I'm just going to strap a steam turbine and a thermal aqua tuner and start cooling it down that way. We will see. But the main mission of today is to get into space. And the reason why is because we are about done with all of the pre-research work that we can do on Tier 4 researches. You can see down, I think we have 1 or 2 left. Yeah, we're almost done here. And then we'll just be waiting for the orbital research that can only be conducted in the orbital microlab. Every once in a while, I just come over here, shoot some of the beautiful rad bolts into the material study terminal, and Wheeljack or Lita comes and finishes off the research. Now, you may be wondering how our little experiment with the shine bugs is doing. Well, we have 47,793 rad bolts in this generator, and 45,000 in this one. In other words, we have enough rad bolts to power a rocket when the time comes. This is not going to be permanent. After we do the research, there's no reason to even have a material study terminal, so I'm not sure what we're going to do with all those extra rad bolts. The count on the shine bug room hovers between 90 and 100. It looks like that's about as many eggs that can be produced before the next ones die off. And you'll notice almost 100 cycles have gone by, and this is almost a complete steam room. It's a ton of steam. We had somewhat of a problem pouring the water in at a good layer so it wouldn't be too much steam, but right now we're at 566 kilos, so that's the reason why it takes so long. But as soon as this whole thing is steam, the thermal regulator will be able to kick on and finally deep freeze our food. So now, it's time to build our rocket pads. I think we're going to build a little rocket headquarters over here and then leave this all for rocketry. I don't think we're going to do any solar panels. Quite frankly, I don't think we need the power. Right now, we have 9 coal generators and 503 tons of coal. We also have the natural gas generator, and then we have a smattering of steam turbines throughout the colony. Eventually, we're even going to tap into this magma biome, and it's going to provide more heat, which is going to provide, you guessed it, more power. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do for long-term power, but it will probably be geothermal combined with our volcanic sauna. But for now, the mission at hand is leveling this. You know me, I need a nice flat rocket area. I need a nice little headquarters building. We're going to see how it looks. But at a minimum, it's got to be flat, which means we have a lot to fill in. First things first when building our rocket site was trying to figure out what material to use. So I put a couple tests up here. We have a tile in mafic rock, obsidian, sedimentary rock, and granite. So mafic rock has a melting point of 1409 degrees. That's decent, but not as good as obsidian, which doesn't melt until over 2700 degrees. Checking sedimentary rock, it's only 926 degrees, and granite is even less than that at 668. Well, not like we could use granite anyways, because we've used a ton of granite throughout the base, and so we don't have as much of it left. When you check the resources pile, you can see how much raw minerals you have and how much you have left of each one. I like to see to keep a certain set of resources that I use the most often here, so I can keep an eye on how much we have left, do I need to make some more, etc. You'll notice, besides igneous rock, the next best we have is mafic rock, and then down to obsidian. Ultimately, we have chosen to do this whole thing in obsidian. So we just had one of our minor volcanoes erupt. I want to take this opportunity to show you one of the new features of the volcano room. After the igneous rock goes all the way through this, and it does take a long time, you can see here with the igneous rock about to exit the room, the temperature is at about 170. That's where we go to our igneous rock final cooling stage. And that's through here. You can see here the environment, it jumps off a couple degrees, 166 or something. But then it goes through these mighty, mighty cold plates. And then right here at the end, you can see it's all the way down to 60 degrees. I'm actually going to take this opportunity to refill this with some water. I must have lost a little bit The door must have opened when it still had water, and so when the door shut, it ate some of the water. So we're going to take this quick opportunity, chop up on this and refill it. What happened is these plates get so hot. This thermal aqua, see, there it is again. The water melts. So I need to set this thermo sensor much lower than that. Let's go minus 25. So now the door will not open until it's minus 25 around its environment. The whole purpose of this is because we were still getting igneous rock that would come through into the base at 165 degrees, and that would still hurt some dupes. We don't like our dupes getting hurt, so we decided to cool it even further. Alright, the major volcano went off, and you can see conveyor system is doing great. Looks like this pool came up to about 55.5. So it looks like we're gaining about 10-15 degrees per eruption. We'll see what the temperature is after the igneous rock has made its way all the way through this tank. Another little feature of the tank we have is I have a hydro sensor here connected to this vent. When water comes above this point, it turns off this vent. Now, that vent is being sourced from way over here from this pool. And the reason why I did that is because this tank is supplying our oxygen, I always wanted to make sure it has at least some water into it. As expected, the status on the cool salt slush geyser is overpressure, so it will not erupt. And in that case, I think we're actually going to lower this hydro sensor down to about here. That way, there'll always be some room for this cool salt slush geyser to erupt, and it's only when it's not erupting will we start to fill it again. All the igneous rock has been completely expelled, and you can see the polluted water in here did raise about 18 degrees, I believe. We're at 58. Still not too concerned, but then again, we still have 44 more cycles of activity from this major volcano. The idea, of course, that we don't want this water to get above, say, 95, because we don't want a single chance of this turning into steam and, you know, completely destroying our base. At last, our deep freeze system is up and running. Now that we've gotten all the water to turn to steam, we can actually calm this thermal aqua tuner down. I think we can probably say we want the base to be around 20 degrees. And now these metal tiles will only cool to about 20 degrees. Which is great, because that means this thermal aqua toner will not be running even a quarter of the time that it was. Now the thermal regulator starts its job. And that's to keep sending this beautiful hydrogen around until it gets to this point where this is deep frozen. Now right now we have our freezer at negative 20. You don't want to cool it down too much. We learned that lesson the hard way last series when we would take the chlorine that's in here. It would actually liquefy the chlorine, which is definitely not the state that we want it in, because then this won't be in its chlorine bath, it won't have an atmosphere, and we will lose our deep freeze status. You may also be wondering why you see this big chungus boy hanging around. Well, that's because he's a free oxalite producer. You can have one puff prince in every sort of area, and they'll breathe in the oxygen and excrete oxalite. Thanks, little buddy. We've been storing the oxalite down here. Right now we have about 5 tons of it. It's not a huge amount by any stretch, but when we start making rockets that need oxalite, whether that be for the interior of the rocket, for its oxygen system, we'll already have a kickstart it without having to do actual formal oxalite production. Alright, so I started wondering why the freezer was taking so long to cool. And it's because I failed to put insulated gas pipes in this loop. So as soon as the hydrogen's coming out of the thermoregulator, it's getting heated up by the steam. So I need to get in there and replace the normal gas pipes with insulated gas pipes. This is going to take a second. I think we're going to be able to get in here through our little stair trip with just a blob of petroleum. We're definitely going to see. Alright, so we've gotten in here. It's still a vacuum because the petroleum is locking out the gas from here. Now, the question is, how much of a mess are we about to make getting in here? This steam, it's going to be a lot of pressure. The good news is we can sweep all this while we're in here. If you look close enough on Hoist, you can see that he's sitting in the steam. It's 112 degrees. You can see the sweat dripping off his brow. Way to go, Hoist. Already, the hydrogen's doing a lot better, finally getting cool. This is exactly what we're looking for. And now we just backfill this back with the metal tiles. While we were fixing the deep freezer, we also managed to put in a transit tube system. Thanks to the glorious bounty of our glossy Drecos and their wonderful plastic. Now this transit tube scales the entire colony from top all the way to the bottom. Speaking of the top, our nice rocket site is now completed. Look how beautiful. It's flat and ready to go. A couple of other features it has. We've included 5 large power transformers. That way we have any power that we'll need at the rocket site. We also have a transit tube access so they can conveniently get home. Now we need to build our little headquarters area. This ought to do well now, and I think it'll also give us a nice spot to start some telescope stuff. Little telescope. You can't flip the telescope? Well, it's pointing in the wrong direction. Ah, that's much better. And we're done. And Elita is holding perfectly still while she's using the telescope. This telescope usage will be good for now, but eventually we'll need to put a duplicate into a rocket with a telescope so they can continue to search. A telescope on a planetoid only has so much of a range. And with that complete, I think it's about time we build the rocket itself. Another great feature of this nice rocket site is it's got a couple of huge heat sinks for rockets. I think our first rocket will go right about here. In preparation for our upcoming rocket mission, I've siphoned some of the carbon dioxide out of this geyser. All I did, bring one gas pipe off of this shutoff, so if the gas cannot go through, it'll continue on. And only 50 grams per second can go through. That's all we're feeding the slicksters right now. So the rest of the carbon dioxide goes all the way over, and up, and then over into our beautiful gas reservoir, which will store enough carbon dioxide for our new rocket. Makes me wonder what random name we're going to get this time. All right, we'll definitely build the carbon dioxide engine out of steel. And there it goes. Our rocket name is V'ger 15. I'm wondering how many of you guys get the V'ger reference. For those that don't know, it comes from probably the worst Star Trek movie, Star Trek 1. I would recommend that you see it, but you gotta watch it at least once, but afterwards, All right, I think we're about ready. Here's the design I went with this time. Not too much different from our previous Orbital Microlab sort of rockets. Couple of the features is it is packed with rooms. It's got the Great Hall, the barracks, and the latrine. This is important so the dupe can keep up a high morale. We even have some different plants in here. It's our 4 favorite. Unfortunately, it's still a little chilly in here. It's under 20 degrees, so the plants don't quite like it. As soon as they do, though, man, it'll be nice in here. Some decent morale in here. We've dropped off 20 tons of plastic, 20 tons of dirt. That way they have enough dirt to take care of the outhouse. We have the hand sanitizer full with the bleach stone for all those washing needs. We even got some nice water here. It's got a little bit of food poisoning. Let's not talk about it. And then finally, we have one power outing fitting that will keep the Orbital Microlab powered. You'll see this Orbital Microlab only requires 60 watts. The solar panel on the rocket will be plenty just to provide this power. That's the only power this whole thing needs. We also put the rocket control station back in, and there it is. Now all that's left is send it off. First things first is to change the crew. We know it's going to be Elita. Elita has a morale requirement of 15. She should be fine in there. She has all the research and the rocket piloting. We'll keep an eye on her, though. Our carbon dioxide engine is already full. So now we just need to set a destination. And we're just going to sit in orbit. The rocket is preparing. Elita is in. Go inside. Make sure we do the necessary business. First, we have to enable the toilet. We need to drop her suit. Forgot to also mention, we put a fridge unpowered. It has 17 cycles worth of pickled meal. Should be plenty. Now all that there is left to do is begin the launch sequence. Goodbye, giant soda bottle. Now that V'ger is in orbit, one important element to make sure that they are only doing research is to disable the rocket control station. Otherwise, she'll attempt to maintain orbit herself, which is nearly not necessary because the ship does it itself. And there it is. Probably my favorite animation. Work that orbital microlab, Elita. You can see here the rocket control station says switching to autopilot. Autopilot is now engaged. Elita can just concentrate on using the orbital microlab. Elita is doing a great job just churning through what research we have left. Remember, it's only Elita that has to do the orbital research because all the other research for it has been knocked out. So we will have all this research complete fairly quickly. Still a lot more to go with this series. After we knock out the orbital research, we then are going to set to the skies with a much better rocket engine. There's still more that we want to do on the home base as well, so I hope you stay with us on the series. I had fun with this episode. I hope you did too. Talk to you soon.